welcome. My name is Colin Drummond. I'm a professor and assistant chair of biomedical engineering here at Case Western Reserve University, and I do mean I have the privilege of also this year becoming the faculty director for the Masters of Engineering and Management program. I've been involved with the program since 2007, and the reason I stay involved is because I get a personal joy. It's very rewarding to see the transformation that occurs in engineering students over the period of a year. So it's delightful. I feel like it's alumni weekend in a way because we've got Tyler, Lindsay, Aaron, and Reza, people I've gotten to know over the years. One of the delightful things is when people join the MEM program as a student and they leave as a colleague. So I really feel I can just chat with these folks, and Reza has been guest speaker in classes and things like that. So you'll hear from them. The one thing I'd like to underscore today is tonight is a night where I think you need to be extraordinarily self-centered. And I really mean that in a serious way. The decision to pursue the MEM can be extraordinarily, or the pursuit of the MEM can be extraordinarily rewarding. I mean extraordinarily rewarding, but only if it aligns with where you want to go in your career. It has to align. And so the opportunity to hear from candidates who have been through the process and to get blunt answers to your question, now's the time to ask the questions. Now's the time to find out yes, no, maybe, whatever it is, and have that dialogue. Have that dialogue. It's extraordinarily important. We'll open in a minute with questions, but I just want to make a couple comments about the program. I actually I teach a graduate course upstairs, biodesign, so I have the graduate students on hold. The good news is I bought food, so they're happy right now. But in any case, so to me, you have to figure out what it is about this program that can create value for you personally. And the pattern I see is that the engineering degree gives you a basic sort of analytic, this decision-making capability, this systems thinking, sort of a root level predisposing you, in your case because you're here, to be leaders. Now the question becomes, how do you pick up those skills? How do you pick up those competencies to take the next, to take the jump and become a leader when you graduate? And sometimes it happens quickly, sometimes it takes a little long, but you can hear from these folks and they'll describe how it is that the program contributed to their success. And I want to comment, again, from my perspective, what I see in individuals, and it sounds a little philosophical, but I believe that the successful candidates make the jump from a number of different points. Number one is, and we do measure this, that the individuals improve critical thinking skills. I mean, every sort of strategic plan for every university talks about critical thinking skills, but the true ability to understand and make evidence-based statements, the ability to look at a problem genuinely from 360 degrees, and the ability to create a hypothesis are central to critical thinking skills. And the students that can solve the problems of tomorrow that we don't know exist today are those that have excellent critical thinking skills. That's one thing I personally work on a great deal, and I think you're probably tired of hearing me talk about critical thinking skills, but it is important to me personally because I know the value it creates. The other thing that's very important, and I think evolves is something that people pick up, is the ability to deal with ambiguity. Most of you have been in an engineering program. You've been given the exact problems to solve to 3 decimal places, and basically you've perfected the art of computing the wrong answer. So now what we do is we relax the context, and we now set a much broader context of issues, management, organizational issues, and you have to understand how to deal with ambiguity. Those people that master that skill, and there's actually techniques we teach for that. A lot of it has to do with asking questions and knowing what questions to ask. And that's some of the things at least I talk about in the classes I teach. So again, critical thinking skills, the ability to deal with ambiguity, and last but not least, which I think is extraordinarily important, is self-directed learning. We can only teach you so much in the program. I mean, there's only so much we know. I spent 20 years in industry before coming to CASE in 2008, so I have some background in industry, and I know sort of how technology moves quickly. But the idea is that presumably in the years ahead, you're going to be positioned in situations where you don't really know the answer, and you have to self-direct your own learning. Your boss isn't going to know. And the differentiating factor is those people that can step up and create a pathway forward, not ask somebody else, what do I do, what do I do, what do I do? That differentiates people, and we flush that out right away. So the self-directed learning, I think, is also important because I work a lot with recruiters, and I worked with somebody who was calling on references today, or I'm sorry, today's Tuesday, Monday. So Monday I was on the phone with a recruiter, and no kidding, one of the first questions was, can I put this person in front of a customer? Now, this is really important. Most engineers, you can't. I mean, no offense, I'm an engineer, right, by training. Lots of years in engineering. But a lot of engineers, you can't put them in front of the customer. This, I think that hopefully these people will talk about the fact that they've sort of grown and they've figured out what, use judgment, what do you say, what do you not say? Thinking on your feet is very important. So again, I don't want to take too much time, but I just wanted to say those three things, that be self-centered tonight. Ask the questions. Don't go home and say, oh, I should have done this, that, or the other. Ask the questions. These are people who are approachable. I mean, I think I'm approachable, but some people don't. But anyways, so the point is that be self-centered. Ask the question. Ask it now, because if this program is not aligned with where you want to go, it's not going to work for you. And we have, in my personal opinion, we have an ethical obligation to say, if you're not aligned, this isn't the program for you. There's other places to go. There's other things to do. So with that, what I'd like to do is turn it over to, I'll call her my friend and colleague, Ramona. I've known her since I came in 2007. By the way, she has a second name. It's called Den Mother, but she can talk about that. So I'll let,
Thank you, Colin.
But I'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Ramona David. I'm the admissions and program manager for the MEM program, and I've been with the program since almost the beginning of it. So I've been with the university over 13 years, but with the program over 10. So it is truly my pleasure to have all of you in front of me today, and a lot of you already know, and some I hope will apply to the program, or at least will answer some of your questions tonight. I'd like to thank very much our alumni who are always so willing to help us when we have our open houses. So we have Reza, Aaron, Lindsay, and Tyler. And they will tell you a little bit about themselves, their discipline, where they're currently working. I have a couple questions that I want that the alumni panelists have been given, so we'll answer some of your questions. But of course, if you have any questions that have not been answered by the panel, please feel free to answer any questions that you feel is necessary for you. If for any reason you don't feel comfortable, doing it in this kind of forum, you can talk to them afterward on one-on-one. Okay, so let's get the ball rolling. All right, so Reza, you start introducing yourself.
Sure. My name is Reza Mohammedpour. First of all, can everyone hear me? Am I speaking loudly enough? I have an inside voice, so I have to check from time to time. So I was a MEM student. I graduated in 2014. Before that, I was also a biomedical engineering student here at CASE. So I know I knew of the program before I graduated, and I heard a lot of good things about it. So I applied and got in, and it was a great experience. Right now, I work at a company called Core Cadence. It's a medical device company that I started with a couple other guys back in August of 2014. We do devices for cardiology, specifically like catheters that go into the heart and map arrhythmias. That's sort of my my short story. Do you want to go ahead, Aaron?
Sure.
Right.
Thanks, Reza. So my name is Aaron Keith. I was also in Reza's graduating class, May 2014. Just a little brief overview, I guess, 30,000-foot view, if you will. Did undergrad here at Case Western Reserve University. Chemical engineering, wanted to change, decided, engineering wasn't really what I wanted to do. Applied for the MEM, got in. But then, and of course, over the course of going through the MEM and doing some soul searching and whatnot, really decided that maybe I wanted to go into consulting. So here I am now, Blue Chip Consulting Group, IT consulting is what I do. And I've just recently transitioned into the talent acquisition group, or the recruiting, what they call inside sales. And I'm sure I'll go more into that as the questions come up. So that's me as a 30,000-foot view.
Okay. Hi, guys. Can you hear me? Yeah? I'm Lindsay. I graduated from Youngstown State University with a bachelor's in chemical engineering in 2012, May 2012. I started this program when I was a junior, so I did the junior track option where you do the summer between your junior and your senior year of your undergrad, and then you come back in the fall of after you graduate. I interned at Lubrizol during that time, and I'm still there. I am now a chemist. I'm an applications chemist in their personal care department, which was always my dream, and I'm really happy there. So I make body washes and shampoos.
Right. Hi, everyone. My name is Tyler, and I actually have my second day on the job today. I just got a new job, and I am now a project engineer at the medical center company, which is in the building right over here on the UH quad. And they are the organization that provides steam, chilled water, and electrical distribution to Case Western, UH, and the museums and University Circle. And let's see, was that all I needed to talk about for the moment? Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for the introduction. So I'm just going to go into it, and we're going to just ask some questions. And everybody take a little time and put your spin on it. And then if anybody has questions about that, then I'll take some questions, okay? So, of course, the first and the main and the most important question of all is, why did you choose the MEM program?
I'll get started then. I chose it because I wanted to work in teams. I liked team projects when I was in undergrad, and I didn't think we did enough of those. And that was really one of the big things that attracted me to the MEM program. The chance to work in teams of people for each course, to see different parts of industry, the way things work, and to learn how to work well with other people. Because today, I'm pretty convinced that the lone operator or the lone wolf doesn't really get as much done as working in teams do, specifically multidisciplinary teams. So that was the primary reason why I joined.
All right, on to me. I guess how cliche it is, but I just, I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to be the quote unquote, doing research forever. I have several years of experience in undergrad doing research, and that just wasn't me. Of course, the whole reason I wanted to be an engineer was to build, create value, to essentially help people, right? To take something on from a laboratory and scale it up to help the masses, right? That's what really interested me about engineering. And through my coursework and through the research and internships and here and there, one specifically, working here in the chemical engineering department with the alternative energy making supercapacitors. One of the frustrations that I had was, although we're on this cutting edge technology, right, and we're doing something, I guess to me, better than, the sliced bread, right, cutting edge, right, but no one, not customers, but people wouldn't know, right? It's how do you get that from sitting on a laboratory shelf to the customers or the consumers, to the country, right? So it was really frustrating for me, and I knew that I wanted something else, something different, to understand, how can I take this idea or this technology and commercialize it? How do I get it in the hands of people, right? So they can see the value that I see, and that's where the MEM came in. It's just a different lens to look at things through, a different, understanding the business aspects behind engineering. How do you understand technology and business needs and how do you fuse those needs. So technology and business to add value, to create value. Essentially, that's what really attracted me to the MEM. Something different. And I was like, I'm going to go all in on it because I didn't have it in undergrad. I was frustrated, up to my head, to hair, pulling out my hair. Well, I don't have hair now, but I had a lot of hair back then. And the MEM really, helped me to sort of bridge that gap.
I chose the MEM for the professional development aspect. This program especially is very catered toward the individual student, and for me that was incredibly important. I'm actually, the company that I work for now, Lubrizol, is starting to require from all employees an assignment that we had here at MEM. So I've already done it. Which is the learning plan, and a lot of people laughed during that class, and they said, "Oh, this is so soft skills like. It's not really that important." Of course, coming from engineers, I think you might expect that because we're very technical minded. But that was probably the most valuable part of the program for me, and also I wanted the accounting courses and of course like the business knowledge that he just mentioned. Because in my undergrad, I know some bachelor's programs for engineering, they require you to have accounting courses or some type of business course in there, but mine did not. Mine was strictly technical, so that was another reason I wanted to pursue the MEM. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to echo what most of my other panelists said. I studied mechanical engineering here at Case Western Reserve and went through the co-op program and did one co-op and realized that doing pure engineering for the rest of my career was not really what I wanted to do. I didn't want to just be sitting in a cubicle making some sort of widget for the rest of my life. I wanted to work on bigger projects or have a larger say in the decision-making process. And so as I was getting ready to graduate my senior year, I started looking into the MEM program to get that technical or the business knowledge and the management knowledge that I would need to pursue those kinds of roles in the future.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions right now that the panel can answer for you? Okay, moving along. So I'm going to start with Aaron this time. So do you feel the MEM program is a worthwhile investment? Because we're pretty pricey, as you know. Oh, sorry. Guys, let me do it again. I wasn't on camera. So I'm not a pro at this at all. So again, Aaron, do you feel that the MEM program was a worthwhile investment?
Short answer, yes. I'll explain why. And you're right, Ramona, it is pretty pricey. But I think it's so worth it, because what you get out of it, as Lindsay mentioned, the professional development, the learning, the interpersonal skills. A big thing in the MEM actually is emotional intelligence, or EQ, right? And how do you understand yourself, and how do you understand others? How do you manage those relationships? And that's huge in industry, and actually wherever you work in the organization, because you have different mindsets, different attitudes that you have to deal with on a daily basis. And I think the MEM helps to bridge that, right? In undergrad engineering, sure, you work on teams, you get exposed to that a little bit, but you don't really understand what's going on, what's at play. And with the MEM, you get exposed to this EQ, right? This emotional intelligence, as well as how that can help you when you're trying to bring teams together, when you're trying to add value to whatever you're doing in the business. And for me specifically, in IT consulting, right? It's all about EQ. Door.
Close the door. Thank you.
But yeah, it's really. Got it. Cool. I'm back. All right. So again, it's all about emotional intelligence. Oh yeah, I'm good. I'm dynamic, right? Like water. Yeah. But anyways, going back to IT consulting and me specifically, the MEM. So stepping back, okay, I have so many thoughts in my head. In my program, I came into Blue Chip Consulting Group in the entry-level position, the entry-level consulting track. It's a 6-week intensive program, right? And because of the MEM, once I finished the program, graduated the program, I was presented with an opportunity to either go the technical route, be an IT consultant, or be in the business, understand the business, and go on the track to management. And so that's what I'm in now, being in the talent acquisition group, or recruiting, what they consider inside sales. The managing partner or CEO, took me aside and he said, because you come from this MEM background, you understand the technology, but you also understand business, at a very fundamental level. And you understand how technology and business interact or interlace to add value for clients, customers, whatever have you. And so I'm in this route, talent acquisition, inside sales, which is the next step being sales, the channel, outward sales. And then after that, the goal is to transition me into more of a business development, a management of business development, which is the title. To give you a timeline, sort of roughly, I've been in Blue Chip for about 6 months now. In June, I'll be promoted to sales. And then 4 months from that, that's when I'm going to transition into a manager of business development. And I don't think, if I didn't do the MEM, there's no way I would have been on this aggressive path. There's just no way. Even when I compare myself to others who've been in my program through the training program, I'm just, by leaps and bounds ahead of them. I understand the business. I understand how we go to market, right? And that's things that I learned from MEM. And that's things that they're just starting to understand, and they're the IT consultants, right? And here I'm in the talent acquisition group. And I don't want to take up too much of, the time, but I will also transition and say, in my role in the talent acquisition group or the recruiting department, I've actually started to implement some of the fundamentals or the theory that we learn in MEM. One of the biggest things being the lean, the ERP or the supply chain course that you take. And I mean, it was brutal. It was crucial, brutal. When I went through, it was tough, right? But one thing that I took away from that, if anything, was the supply chain and lean methodology. Which I am actually implementing in our recruiting strategy. You wouldn't think that supply chain and recruiting have anything to do with each other, but they do. And which, we've seen a tremendous response and increase in the amount of hires and quality of hires that we have. I'll step down off my soapbox.
Thank you, Aaron.
So the question is the cost of MEM worthwhile?
Correct.
I would say it's definitely worthwhile. It's not just about your individual development. It's also about the people you meet. It's about the connections the school has with local companies in the area. It's about the internship experience that you gain through the program. And especially, as Reza was mentioning, the teamwork is so important. You'll find in industry you're always working on a team of some sort. And interpersonal conflict, being a master at that is that's at least what our managers do at Lubrizol. So it's very important.
I also think that the cost of the MEM program is worthwhile. I'm fairly confident that I got both of the jobs that I had, both the one that I got right out of graduating and then the one that I started this week, because of my employers seeing the MEM degree on my resume. They knew that I, had a good technical background from my bachelor's degree, but then they also knew that I knew things about management and business and finance. So I was able to get, that kind of put me over the top and was the deciding factor in their choices to hire me.
Great, thank you guys so much. So, any questions for the panel? Go ahead, please.
I guess for the panel in general, how do you feel So I guess for the panel in general, how do you feel that the MEM degree trades against an MBA in management, for example, or a master's in operations?
I'll take that if it's okay.
Ramona. I would say that it trades favorably because because of the way the program's designed, you sort of jump in with both feet, right? So you immediately start doing things. The project work is incredibly time consuming. I mean, I don't think anyone who's been through the program will tell you a different story when it comes to that. But because it's time consuming, because you're forced to work in sort of this at times sort of this pressure cooker environment where you have a project that has a deadline next week, and then you have a deadline this week for a different project. It very much simulates the real world. So I think compared to any sort of business development degree, it holds up really well. And the really nice thing is that if you make a mistake in school, that's okay. It's a learning experience. Hopefully you don't make it out in the real world, right?
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so the next question for the panel is, how do you feel the MEM has affected your career decision? I'm going to start with you, Lindsay.
Okay. Well, I had never had industry experience before coming to do the MEM, so I never did an internship before. And, part of the program is they will place you in an internship if they have a spot for you. And they happen to have this spot in personal care at Lubrizol, and that was always my dream. When I first started school, I was a fashion design major, and I always was attracted to that part, that glamour, and so when I chose chemical engineering, the whole point was for me to go into cosmetics. And so when I heard about that internship opportunity, I thought, wow, that would be really great just to be able to step in and start in that industry right away. So that definitely shaped my career path because I'm still there. I decided to go back into the lab after marketing because marketing is, especially for a chemical company, is very technical, and you have to have that technical. For me, I felt like I needed that technical foundation before moving up for a lot of different reasons. I don't feel that maybe some people might not respect you as much if you don't have that technical knowledge, and if you didn't start where they start. And if you're managing or if you're interacting with people at the technical level, you need to understand what they're going through on a daily basis and what their work is like. And so that's why I'm a chemist now. Mm-hmm.
The professional development classes that you'll take in the summer semester of the MEM program really helped me focus on what I wanted to do for the rest of my life and what kind of career I wanted. And through all of the deep thinking that you have to do about yourself and what you want, I realized that I was passionate about working on energy infrastructure projects. And so my previous job was at a electric utility regulatory agency, and the professional development program also helped me realize that I'm good at systems thinking and good at being an interface between technical and non-technical people, which is really important in the business world because those sides either choose to or just, if they want to, have difficulty communicating with the same language. And so at my job at the regulatory agency, I was part of an analytics department that was kind of at the nexus between the attorneys in the enforcement department who did all of the legal work and then the auditors who are all engineers and had electric utility experience. And my group helped those two groups understand each other and help our company be better. So, I figured out all of those things in the MEM program.
Thank you.
Sure. Can you repeat the question? Sorry, I was just listening to Tyler.
How has the MEM program affected your career decision?
Right. So it affected it pretty dramatically. I would say before I joined MEM, I was probably going to get a job in an industry with a larger company. Doing what, I wasn't really sure, to be honest. I liked medical devices, but I didn't know exactly how I would engage in that process. I didn't get a lot of practice. So when I joined MEM, I actually if you join MEM, you get the opportunity, as Lindsay was telling you, to do internships. I highly recommend that. It's a really great opportunity to get exposed to real life problems out in industry and also get experience while you're still in school. I became a CA at the Coulter program, and I sort of discovered electrophysiology. So the first few months I was working on my project, I had no idea about anything, and I just brought myself up to speed. And then by the end, I was pitching to the Coulter board for an investment upwards of $100,000. So it was really exciting. I liked the work, and I really discovered a career path that I wasn't really aware of through that. So that's my answer.
Excellent. Thank you. Aaron?
Oh, that's cool. All right. Well, so the time upon graduation, when you're, yeah, okay. So I'll focus more on when after graduating MEM and being posed with two different job opportunities. So I was, torn between going the IT consulting, going into that industry, or going into, the engineering rotational development program, something like of that nature. And because of the MEM, I think I would have been great at both, right? I was definitely leaning more towards the rotational program. I think it was like an operational rotation program. It escapes me, the details, right? But anyways, but because of all of the project work and the experience that I've had working with the teams that I was on throughout the entire year, the 3 semesters, and working with different organizations or companies on different problems, something clicked. It was like, well, maybe, I really like the idea of consulting, right? Going in, understanding a business problems or their needs and understanding their business and what they're looking to do and trying to paint a picture or draw a roadmap for them to get from that point A to point B. And so, I guess I had to have a come to Jesus moment, if you will, and really decide, where did I want to take my career? What did I want to be when I grow up, right? Quote unquote, and which led me into the IT consulting, which then again, I was again at the fork was in the road, if you will, where I was presented the opportunity to be technical and be a consultant, an IT consultant, or continue that, or be in the business, learn more about the business, and start to transition and groom myself to business development and management. And because of the MEM, that I had in my back pocket, right, and the experiences that I've had, I decided that, I wanted to go full force into the business route. Where I can go towards being a manager, that management level, a managing director or VP of consulting. That's what really interested me, and I don't think I think the MEM really helped throughout my experience in the MEM. Really helped me to make that decision.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you guys so much. Any questions Go ahead.
So a lot of the criticisms that I've heard about MEM in the past have to deal with graduating with a great deal of management education, but maybe not so much experience. So I was curious to how would you address that sort of criticism?
I'm sorry, not so much experience doing what?
Someone I spoke to in the past said that people who graduate with these type of graduate degrees, they end up when they're facing job decisions, they feel like the people that are higher than feel that they have a lot of management education about how to be a manager, but not enough experience. So I just want to know how would you guys address that criticism?
Okay.
Or to someone.
I could answer this. I would say that don't expect to graduate from this program and expect to be a manager right off this, as soon as you get out of school, especially with no experience in industry. But I think how Aaron, maybe his program now, is you might show employers or recruiters that you have the potential to be a manager because you at least have the basics of the fundamentals down from this program, and they could place you in a career ladder or a program where you could grow in that area. Yeah, that's how I would answer it.
Somebody else? real quick, kind of speak into like the internships and things like that. It seems like a lot of you didn't have any experience going into grad school. So what were your expectations of the program going into it, and then what were you able to attain those goals or expectations when you graduated?
Go ahead, Aaron.
I'll take it. I'll take it. You know, my expectations going in was to essentially, you know, you're right. I had no co-op experience. I've done internships, but they're research, so not really, right? No industry experience, and so I came into the MEM, you know, knowing that they do internships, right, and that's where you can really get the hands-on experience, you know, that especially that I was lacking. So coming in, I was like, you know what? I hope that I get out of this, you know, more hands-on experience, which will make me more attractive to potential employers. And the short answer is yes, I did receive that. And you know, through not only through the internships that I had, but also through the project experiences, you know, working through the 3 semesters or the year-long program, you get exposed to many different projects, you know, working in different teams, right? And I think that's something that you would get, you know, had you have done a co-op or you know, or been working in industry, and that's something that, you know, I feel that I've gotten, and a lot of, I'm sure, you know, my panelists here would say that the same thing through their experience in the internship.
Does that answer your question, Ben?
A little bit. Actually, can I follow up with one more? So I guess if you've been in management roles, whether it's co-ops and things like that, what would be the deciding factor between the MEM and the MBA if you've already got that internship experience or that management experience?
Tyler, do you want to take this one? Or?
I mean, I was never really considering an MBA, a pure MBA. For one thing, those are all, for the most part, 2-year programs, and this being a 1-year program, you know, a 3-semester long program, but still all in 1 year was a big advantage to me. And the ability to work 2 days a week, is that still? Yeah. Ability to work 2 days a week and support myself while going to grad school was also a really great opportunity because, you know, I took out loans to pay for the classes, but then I didn't have to take out larger loans so I could, you know, pay for rent and food and all of that while I was going to school. I was able to support myself on my salary from the commercialization associate program.
Lindsay, go ahead. You're shaking your head.
I was just thinking, as you know, I do actually know someone from my class who is going back for an MBA, and at least the MEM gets you halfway there. So I guess for me, it was more like, just like Tyler said, I could support myself in school. The timing was mainly what was important for me. I didn't want to spend an extra year in school. I was just so done with school. But if you do want to go back and finish up that last year or so that you would need for an MBA, you can always do that later on.
So if you decide you want to get an MBA, after you do the MEM, you have the equivalency of 1 year of your coursework. So everything that you do here, if you go on to an MBA here, it counts 100%. Most other schools count the case MEM as a 100%. Okay, so if you decide down the road that you want the additional courses, what are those additional courses? You usually delve into finance more deeply. So if you're moving in a track that's highly financially related, let's say you get on the mergers and acquisitions team at Eaton, get an MBA. And you've already got a year of it done. So you've never lost your investment, okay? Most students don't go back for MBAs because they feel that their managers acknowledge the MEM and treat it very similar to an MBA.
Thank you, Laura.
I guess I'll
Go ahead, Aaron.
piggyback off that just a little bit, because I myself was thinking about MBA. Still kind of, sort of. Not really, I guess, never mind. But anyways, so with the MEM versus MBA, right, I think they're comparable, right? But I think, you know, from an employer's standpoint or viewpoint, the MEM it allows you to be more, I guess, quote unquote technical, right? You know, you're only a year out of college. You know, you still have the engineering core fresh in your mind, in your back pocket, if you will, right? So if you said, if you know, you graduate MEM and you want to go and be more, you know, the project engineer or the product management or manager or, you know, quality assurance engineer, fine, you know, great. You know, the MEM will definitely get you there, but also, you know, it'll fast track you should you want to go into management. I believe going the MBA route, you know, that again, that's heavy on the financial piece, as well as, you know, accounting, banking and finance, all that other stuff, you know, right, which is all well and good. But I think that sort of puts you, it silos you a little bit if you still want it to be technical, right? Does that help? Yeah. Question?
My question is, can you all speak to some of the roles you've played on your teams, whether it was like learning a new set of skills to fill that role or like utilizing skills you've already learned in your undergraduate degree?
When you were in your teams.
Right. Like your
For your
class
projects.
projects.
Okay.
Like technical skills, or you mean like
I guess my concern is that I'm coming in with a mechanical engineering background. Do I need to learn how to use software? Like, if I'm designing an app, like, do I need to teach myself new things, or am I utilizing?
Like my concern is like I'm coming in with a mechanical engineering degree, and if my project is, or the solution we're coming up with is to design an app, do I need, like, am I going to be responsible for learning how to code that, or like what was you like, or maybe a better question is, what was the most impactful role you had on a team?
the one that comes to my mind is, so one of our projects was we had to make a STEM kit in one of our classes in our product design class. And so I was voluntold to be team lead. And so we ended up making a light up game board. It was called Beauty Board, where little girls could make their own cosmetic product. And that took so much. We had a biomedical engineer, we had an electrical engineer, we had a chemical engineer, and I think we might have had a mechie on there, but we needed everyone's expertise in order to build this one thing. And I think that project especially made me realize how important it is to be in a team and utilize everyone's strengths in order to achieve something great. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Any other questions for the panel right now? Okay, go ahead.
I guess this is specifically for you, Reza. How do you feel that MEM helped you as an entrepreneur?
I would take up a lot of time explaining that, Philippe. It's a lot of different ways. So maybe the simplest way is to tell you what I do now. When you start out as an entrepreneur, right, and you step out into the wild, and things are glamorous at first, right? But then you realize that, not only do you do the technical work that has to be done and think about how to manage the project, but you're thinking of how to incorporate the company, how to run a payroll. You have to come up with a logo, with a brand. You have to do all these operational activities that are just involved with upkeeping day-to-day activities. You do everything, right? In MEM, you get exposure to a little bit of everything. So in that way, when you start going through these things and you start, you're not as intimidated. When you sit down with a lawyer downtown and they're explaining to you how the articles of incorporation are put together, it's not something that's totally foreign to you. You understand what they're for and what they're doing and what they say. So I would say that sort of in a nutshell is the value to an entrepreneur. And really, the nice thing is, these people that are teaching you were actually out there doing it, okay? So they come with experience, and that's sort of the value there, right there, because you can ask them questions, and they have years of experience doing this stuff. So you can learn directly from them, from the course material, all sorts of ways.
Excellent, thank you. So another question for the panel, and you guys can just answer however you want. I won't pin you, Tyler. So the next question is, what do you tell our audience, for example, that might be on the fence of applying to the program and they're not too sure? What kind of advice would you guys give them to say, go ahead and hit that submit button? What would you say? Don't let me call a name now.
I guess it would depend what your reservations were. I do want to say one thing about the MBA versus the MEM. With the MEM, it is catered toward people that don't have a lot of experience for when you're young, when you're just coming out of your bachelor's degree, whereas an MBA is not. And I actually used to have a boss who did her MBA here at Case, and she also had a Master of Engineering degree at Case. And she said she's so glad that she waited those 5 or 6 years she waited between her Master's in Engineering degree and her MBA, and she said she got so much more out of her MBA because she'd already had the work experience, and the classes just click in a different way. At least what she told me from her experience. So, yeah.
Anybody else want to help the folks out here to say why would you want to, if you're on the fence, to hit that submit button? How many of you are thinking about applying to the program? Just hands up a little bit. Okay, great.
Well, I guess it does depend on what the source of the hesitation is.
Mm-hmm.
If you're worried that you're going to, you're going to pay for this really pricey education, and you not really have anything to show for it at the end of the day. I think that's sort of a universal worry, right? Especially today when education is extremely expensive. To answer that and sort of persuade you that it's a good idea, I would say that if you're willing to go into it with a positive outlook and you're willing to really engage with the classwork, and then also, take advantage of the internship opportunities and really dig in, then it's extremely valuable. If you just sort of show up and you just go through the motions, then yeah, it's. But you could really say that about anything, but particularly a master's degree. If you just go through the motions and you're not really engaged in what you're doing, and you don't necessarily see the value in it, then it's probably going to be a waste of time. But that being said, I don't think MEM is a waste of time. I didn't approach it in the way that I was just going to sit through classes. I mean, it's incredibly different from undergrad, where you just sort of are getting lectured at. You engage, right? You have discussions. There's back and forth. That's what the real world's like. That's why it's valuable.
Thank you, Russell.
Sure.
Question in the back to Laura. Do you have your microphone?
Thanks. So, I'm sure you each had your own preconceptions and notions about what the MEM would be before going into the program. But what surprised you the most about your individual experience with the MEM program?
I'd probably say the individualization of it, from coming from Youngstown State, which is, it wasn't so much on the individual student, it was more kind of like, here's what needs to be done, now you go figure it out on your own. And the MEM was more like, let me help you, let me help you figure this out. I mean, you have individual coaching sessions that you go to, it's extremely valuable, yeah.
What really surprised me the most was this great thing of ambiguity, right? I mean, oh my God. You deal with it day in, day out in the real world. And in undergrad, you're kind of sheltered from it, right? You're sort of almost put in a box with maybe one gate open, or one side open. And And in the MEM, everything is free range. It's ambiguous. I don't know what the answer is. Go figure it out. And that's essentially how it is. And it was really shocking to me coming in, and because 4+ years I've been trained to think a certain way and to approach things a certain way, and the problems were variables. They were all given to me, or I had or for the lack of a better term, defined, right? But with the MEM, you're given problems or business cases, and you're asked to solve them where things are not defined. You define them. You define the scope, right? And that's huge. That is huge. And that's what you face in industry. That's what you face in everyday life, out there in the real world. And that's something that you do not get in undergrad. You may get a little bit in the design projects, I'll give you that, right? But in MEM, day in, day out, that's what it is. It's the taste of real world. It's the dose of reality. And that's what, shocked the heck out of me. But that's what I really loved about it too. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Matt, gentleman behind you in the glasses.
Just a quick question. So it's gonna be pricey. So what's gonna be tuition for 2015, 2016?
I'm sorry.
The tuition.
The tuition. What is the cost? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, as we said, the tuition is pricey. But those of you who are case undergrads, you know that already. But the tuition for the MEM program is $65,545 for the year. But we do give internships between 0 to 50%, and also to supplement your income is the internships. Any other questions? Okay. And go ahead.
This is more towards Aaron and Lindsay, but I think all of you have a response to it, which is, how do you fare against everyone else, both the engineers and the non-engineers, in terms of being able to sell yourself, being able to create your own value, and how does that stake your position in whatever company you're working with?
Oh, okay. I'll take first. Great question. Teed it up for me. But in my current role in organization, the talent acquisition or recruiting, right? Versus, if I were to compare myself to my peers, those who went through the same exact training program I did coming in, again, I'm leaps and bounds ahead of them. Though they're on the technical side doing the, IT consulting, right? And I'm just here, recruiting, right? But I understand our business, to a much higher degree than they do. I understand, business needs, and I understand our clients better than they do, right? Even though they're the ones, on the technology side. Again, which is why I was presented with this unique opportunity that they didn't get, unfortunately. If I was to compare myself to those, who are not the entry-level consultants, so the solution architects, the upper-level managing directors, I think I still fare fairly well, because when we're communicating or we're in dialogue and they throw out different terms, or if they're talking about a project or the scope or the budget, or the maybe budget creep, right? Or the scope was ill-defined, or they have a client who didn't really understand the business need or the business case, or maybe they're talking about agile or waterfall methodologies. I understand that already because of the MEM. So I have a context. And I think context is huge, when you're in different dialogues or communications between, anyone, right? And, coming from the MEM, I had sort of that background. Maybe I don't understand everything that they're saying, maybe I have to look some things up or have other side conversations, but I understand, to a 30,000-foot view, what they're trying to convey, and I'm able to have a more in-depth conversation with them, right, where there's more value add to both parties, which is totally opposite of, you know, my peers who came in through the program, right? You know, they're just now starting to understand what a scope is, you know, what project timelines are, you know, what is the agile methodology, what is Lean Six Sigma, right? Or supply chain methodologies. And that's something that I've already had. That's something that I've already come into the organization with, and that's something that I'm growing, right? Does that help? Okay.
Right. I can also speak to that. Not necessarily within my organization, but I'm definitely a much better advocate for myself in general, and I had to use that during my job search. So for those of you who don't know Colin loves networking. And pretty much every day in every class that we had with him, he would talk about networking and, you know, have you gone and done networking? And I think we probably had at least one homework assignment where we had to go out and network with people and, you know, bring back, you know, interview evidence that we spoke to this person. And so when I started my job search 6 or 8 months ago, I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that there weren't very many job opportunities to do that in the area, especially without direct experience doing that. And so I just decided to start networking, and I don't think I would have chosen to do that by myself had I not gone through the MEM program and learned about that and learned the importance of it. And so, you know, Cleveland is a very unique, a unique place for a large city in the country because I just looked up the names of people that I wanted to contact and found their email addresses and emailed them. I emailed probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 people, and every single one of them responded to me, which I don't think would happen in another city. And most of those who responded said that they would be willing to talk to me, and we either had some email correspondence or in most cases at least a half-hour to hour phone call. And I just talked to them about my experiences and what I wanted to do, and you know, asked if they could help me. And some people had specific job leads that I could go pursue, or at least I think everybody gave me at least one other person to contact. And so it was through this process that I was able to find my current job. And that was directly as a result of networking, and I don't think I would have done that without the MEM program.
Thank you. Tyler, Colin would be so proud of you.
I know, he's not here to hear.
So
Yeah,
proud.
you'll have to tell him I said that.
Yes, absolutely. Question back there.
Building off of actually Tyler's most recent point, how has the MEM program helped you market yourself and sell your skills as to professionals, to like fellow employers?
No, go ahead. I was just trying to see him.
I would say that a lot that you learn in the MEM, it's, for me at least, it was very theoretical. So for instance, in Six Sigma, I apply those methodologies all the time because they're applicable not just to manufacturing processes, you know, using Kaizen or, you know, the lean management that you learn. Those can be applied to so many different areas, and it really helps to simplify problems. You're quicker at getting to a solution. Yeah, and the second thing I was going to say is that it broadens your perspective. So my perspective graduating with just a bachelor's in engineering was very narrow, right? I didn't know about how companies operate, how they work, and as I mentioned before, teams are so important, especially in an organization, especially if it's a larger company, and you might need to establish certain relationships in order to push things forward and get stuff done. So MEM really helped with that.
So when you think about marketing yourself, I'm going to harken back to when Lindsay got here and junior track versus the person you are when you leave here. And what happens is, I say it's like a butterfly. There's like a chrysalis, and people really bloom because you're given so many opportunities to sell yourself, to be on your feet. Your presentation skills are constantly evolving. You have to do the elevator pitch and a little bit about yourself quickly. So I don't know if that helps to, you know, take what Lindsay said and goes directly to the market yourself part of your question. But what else would you guys say when you come to the program and the way it's set up versus when you leave?
Probably you mentioned the elevator pitch. That's a skill that for me, it was really difficult. It's difficult to summarize yourself in, a minute or 2 minutes. But if you have that skill, you can effectively communicate something that's incredibly valuable, especially when you go out networking, which if you join MEM, trust me, you'll get to do some networking. But it's hard. It's hard to, how do you communicate value to someone you've really never met? How do you know what to say that that they're going to find interesting or important? You don't always know, so you have to practice, and that's something kind of foreign to your engineering senses, because you're just like, well, I can just make a list for them and hand it to them or something like that. But it's not quite the same. There's a lot of communication that's nonverbal, right?
All right, thank you, everyone. So the most important question for me, because, I do everything, and you'll learn that very soon. And you'll call me and say, Mona, I can't register, I can't do this. I've been through all of with these 4, so they're great. So the most important thing for me is that you guys know that the MEM program at Case here was one of the early ones that started. So now we're pretty much saturated with other MEM programs throughout, the U.S. and so forth. So I want to ask the panel, compared to, I don't know if you guys know this, there are 2 main competitors for our program. Is Duke University and Dartmouth. And Dartmouth is very similar to our program. Duke is a little different, where they're about 18 months, and then the students have to get their own internship and a few other things. But I want to ask the panel here, just, why did you choose MEM? Did you apply to other schools besides Case? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure, I'll go first. So like I said earlier, this was actually the only MEM or MBA program that I applied to. And that was mainly due to the fact that I had already gone to Case Western. I was familiar with the campus in the area. But even not having really researched other options, I think that this program is really good. I enjoyed MEM infinitely more than I did undergrad. I think it was because I got to learn, different set of skills, and how to put the engineering, the engineering knowledge that I got in undergrad into practice, and how that works in the context of a company or making a product or designing systems. And all of the teamwork and all the projects that we had the opportunity to do here were great, and I really enjoyed that.
Great.
I also didn't apply to any other MEM programs. I did do some research, though, especially with Duke. But what sold me on this program was the fellowship I was offered, and the specific internship opportunity, because it was in the industry that I really wanted to be in. And also the people here are so incredibly kind.
I didn't pay her to say that. I didn't pay her.
It was like night and day. So those were the 3 reasons I chose Case for the MEM.
So with me, again, same as them, didn't really apply to any other program as far as MEM is concerned. But I think it all boils down to the people, here, and a familiarity here, being on campus, and knowing Ramona, and knowing, well, Suzette's not here anymore, but knowing, Laura, and just the other staff, that helps the MEM thrive, right? And I think the people aspect is huge. It's important, right? Because other MEM programs, I'm sure they're really great, right? But do they have people like Case has people? Probably not. But I think I think couple that with the familiarity of being on campus, knowing the folks in the office, and knowing how they will move mountains to help you, and I think that was just awesome, because you don't get that from any other place, from other organizations or other graduate programs.
Thank you. Reza?
Yeah, I chose it because of the location. Believe it or not, Cleveland's sort of a kind of a rich culture of entrepreneurship and engineering, and specifically in like the university circle area, there's a lot of opportunities to get connected with people doing really interesting work. So, I was already plugged into that, and I was already, working on different things where I thought, this is a good place to be. And the MEM program afforded me the opportunity to build some skills that were not just technically oriented, that could really complement that engineering education that I already had.
Okay, excellent. So do we have any other questions before we close up? Okay. Laura.
Kind of back to the work experience and everything like that. Who did you guys feel you competed with going out to the job market when you graduated Case? As your undergrad, if you graduate, you're obviously competing against your peers that you graduate with. But as a graduate student, who did you feel you were competing with as in regards to like jobs? Or were they undergrads coming out, or were they people that have been working for 3 to 5 years? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I'm a little confused how to answer this because it depends on which job you'd be applying to, like what the criteria might be. Some jobs might require you to have more experience than others. So if you did apply there, I'm not quite sure how to answer this, I guess.
So Lindsay, maybe we could think about at Lubrizol. They typically want 5 years experience for a job, but they, in your case, made an exception to that because she did an internship and because she worked as a contractor before it turned into a full-time job. So your answer is correct. I think what the MEM does is it propels you in terms of how they evaluate your experience. And I'm not saying everybody's going to qualify for a job that requires 5 years experience, but we have examples of where you're able to do that.
It certainly helps you get your foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to add to something to the program, what would that be? For example, for each program, there are lots of pros and cons. If you want to add some, do you see anything as a shortage to this program or something that this program lacks?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, don't hate me for saying it, but honestly, I would make it just a tad bit longer. Maybe another semester. I know that's crazy. I know they're looking at me, right? But honestly, because I just felt, I really did enjoy the 3 semesters of MEM. It was really awesome. But I do feel that there's just so much more, right? That I right? Just it was like if I would. So for an example, I took an elective called managerial consultancy, with the gorilla Richard Osborne in the. Yeah, right. In Weatherhead, awesome class, awesome professor, and I would have loved for the MEM to have something similar, but or even if they didn't or don't, I would have loved just maybe an extra semester or half a semester if that's possible, because I feel that there were still more from a business aspect. That I could have learned, being the managerial consultancy had I not taken that class or that elective, as well. Or, maybe I wanted to go, for those who want to go more into, maybe, I don't know, finances. And I'm just spitballing here. Maybe that's an opportunity too. But I feel that if it was a little bit longer, I think that would have been really great. Or maybe I just miss MEM a lot. I don't know.
It's probably missed us a lot.
Probably.
More girls would have been really nice. There were 6 girls in our class of 40 in my class, so that would have been nice. Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to thank everyone so much for spending this evening with us, especially all of you who RSVP'd. and of course our panel who have given their time after leaving work and coming here this evening. And a special thank you to our staff, June and Cindy, Sarah, and Laura, who make it all possible for us to have this amazing open house. And of course, Media Services, who's going to make this live stream. So if you missed anything exciting, check it online. Okay, we're located in 305 North Hall. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to email myself or go on the website, www.case.mem.edu, and we'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. So again, thank you so much for sharing this evening with us, and have a wonderful evening. Okay, thank you.